Hello and welcome to episode 99 of Zion's Finest. This is Kenny Brown and I am joined by my brother, Sammy K.
Hello, hello.
What we're going to be doing today is we are going to be talking about the Rogue One box. So you might notice, obviously, we're not releasing our secondary tier list. We haven't released our supporting tier list. The reason why is because those take forever to record and somehow even longer to edit. And so we are getting to them. It's just taking us a sweet hot minute. So those are going to be coming. But we wanted to, Sam and I have been playing with a lot of the contents of the Rogue One box, and we want to talk about that and kind of give our sense. It's kind of going to be like a splash, ripple, thump, or thud, or whatever it is. But we've also, we've played with it enough, and so it's not just a series of uninformed takes. I mean, we're going to be playing these things at competitive events coming up pretty soon. So that's kind of where we're coming from. But this is going to be a really fun episode. So first off, what you got to know with Rogue One. So it's Jyn Erso, the primary. She's 8 squad points, 3 force. Bodhi Rook is he's 3 squad points. He is fantastic. And somehow Baze and Chirrut, who are 5 cost, are probably even better. And we are going to be talking about each of them kind of in turn. But just know that this box, if you are a Rogue One fan, obviously this is a no-brainer in terms of picking up. Like, the box is going to be strong. But some of these things we think might be meta-defining strong. So that's just something to be aware of. But let's start with Jyn Erso. So Jyn Erso, she is, I think, actually a pretty standard primary. I would say the only thing about her is that she's pretty squishy, extremely mobile, and she has one of the coolest force economy abilities in the game, and that's the time to fight is now. And what that says is when an allied rebel alliance unit would spend 1 or more force to use an ability, if you don't have enough ready force, you can instead spend 1 momentum. Additionally, once per turn, when an opposing player gains 1 or more momentum. Okay, so notice this is from I learned this from listening to the Hello There podcast. This is from, if the struggle marker lands on the middle of the track and your opponent gains momentum, she gets to heal. So anytime they're gaining momentum, she gets to heal. It's a very, very strong ability, which I think is meant to kind of offset how fragile she is. But really, I think the real reason you're bringing her is for this economy ability. When we initially previewed this and when we initially played it, we thought that it was you had to spend one momentum per force. And then Scott and I were playing a game, and Scott's like, I actually think that this reads the other way. And as we thought about it, we're like, yeah, it does. And then that was confirmed in the rules. It's a phenomenally good ability, especially for things like K2SO, who are very force intensive. Cassian making it so that he can always use this town is ready to roll, is ready to blow. Is just a very, very good ability. What do you think, Sam? Have you had any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think this identity is incredibly good. I think that both the force economy part make things like Callus really shine.
Great point.
I think Callus has been he's one of the better units. I think he's been kind of slept on in this meta. Plays really, really well with Jyn. I think that the recovers are also stealthy really good. You're going to have to burst Jyn down. Like, you can't just shoot her, do 6-7 damage, and just leave her there and know that somebody will mop her up 4 or 5 activations from now in the next struggle. You really have to. You don't necessarily need to one-shot her to be able to actually take her down, but you must spend consistent consecutive attacks.
Yeah, and the thing is about Jyn is, again, we're going to look at her stance cards here in a second, but just be aware that she's interesting because she doesn't feel like Cassian feels like there are a lot of things going on. You have to be paying attention to everything that's happening, and he's got a Hera, very valuable kit if you know how to maximize it. Jyn doesn't feel like she is there, but she does feel like she's got, so her mobility she has her tactic is, this is rebellion, isn't it? Allows her at the start of activation for her or a Rebel Alliance supporting unit, and they have two Rebel supporting units are extremely good. Can either dash or make a 5 dice attack, so she can dash, self dash, give a dash to a supporting unit. Then with her I Rebel, the ability to make dashes every time she makes attacks just is she's got her own supporting fire dash. which feels very, very good in terms of helping her get across the board. Like I've had games where she's made an attack, dashed, she's got dashes. I'm almost positive. Yeah, she has dashes in her stances, and she's performing 3 dashes, making 2 attacks. She's not like blowing anyone off the table or anything like that, but she just feels very, very solid. Let's look at her stance cards. So her 2 stance cards are aggravated assault and resisting arrest. Now, aggravated assault has higher. The defense is the exact same. Okay, the only difference is that one of them is rolling 7 dice for melee, and the other is, and the range is 6, and with the other side it's reversed. So aggravated assault is nominally the better melee side. I'm talking with brother Dan Wasper, who's on the Hello There podcast, talked about this. He talks about how when he has been playing Jyn, a common play pattern for him is he uses aggravated assault, get 2 steps, tee people up with an expose so that he can just absolutely blast them on the second attack. And I totally see that. She can spike and do tons of damage if she does that. I find that pretty much all the time I'm on resisting arrest. And the reason why is because she has shoves on 2. If she's making 5 dice melee attacks with her tactic, that collapsible tonfa expertise, 1 to 2 expertise for a crit and a hit to a crit, is amazing for getting 2 pushes, right? Like that's all you're aiming for is 2 pushes. And she's got good enough attacks at range, right? 1 for 1, 2 to 3 for 2. So I find that Jyn is a pretty flexible piece. She can do a lot of things. Her issue that I have found is that she very much is like one of those, you got to get her in position pieces. Like with her start of activation tactic, it is very much the case that it feels really bad to be spending that on a dash for her, which I know feels kind of silly because we do that all the time with a lot of units. But where you have an attack that you could be using, you really want to try and leverage that. And I have found that that's just not as easy. It means you've got to commit your out of activation movements for. In a lot of ways, she kind of feels like Hera, in that you want to focus some of your out of activation resources towards her, out of activation movement resources to her, so that she can really pop off on her turn, right? And so that she's not just kind of having these sad panda turns, because she can pop off if she's in position. But that also puts conditions in terms on your list. So that's my thought with her. What do you think, Sam? I've got some more kind of closing thoughts on her, but like, what have you thought either with playing with her or playing against her? Do you think I'm right with staying on resisting arrest? Like, what's your take on these stances?
I think that there's some interest. So she's not getting any out of activation attacks, really, right? She can get one from her tactic, but that's on her turn. Yep. So I think there is something to the play pattern of she starts in resisting arrest. She's likely going to dash herself forward, make an attack, dash again. So that's going to be her first turn. Unless you give her some out of activation movement, right? She gets a couple shoves. You switch her to aggravated assault, and then you can do that play pattern that Dan was talking about of tee someone up, blow them up.
Yeah.
That is very viable. However, it's really hard to predict what you want to do. I think more often than not, I think you're going to regret not having the double shove twice side more than you're going to regret having the tee up for damage and explode side. That's my general take into things, that oftentimes it's more valuable just to shove 2 different units than to blow up one particular unit. Yeah. However, there are definitely times where you would rather just blow up a particular unit. So I think I don't think that play that Dan was talking about is unviable, or that you shouldn't be thinking about it. It's going to be very matchup dependent, very situation dependent. But I think it can be good. I think you also made an interesting point of the sides are not strictly, hey, this one's better range, this one's better melee. They are better range and better melee for particularly her regular combat actions. Like resisting arrest is better range for her regular combat actions, but it's the better melee side for her 5 dice attack because of that one expertise being that kind of double crit thing. So it's a really interesting thing there that you have some different things going on. I think she's a really interesting character. The last thing I do want to note is that her defensive expertise it's kind of squishy, like 1 to 2 for 1, but it
Yep.
does give a lot of movement. People are
Yes.
going to have to pin her, or she's going to be hard to remove from this.
Absolutely. Absolutely the case. I mean, the thing is about it is she's got like that's Kanan level of dashing around, right? Like a dash on
Yeah.
1 to 2 is very, very good. I think what I have found with Jyn, I also should note, like, you're absolutely right in terms of what I guess the question you should be asking with Jyn is Jyn's very interesting in this way that like the question you're asking is, am I the beatdown, right? Like, am I the beatdown or do I need a control? Because if you're the
Yeah.
beatdown, stand aggravated assault and just like, smack people, right? Absolutely. I find that most of the time I'm not the beatdown, that I am, especially if you're playing like Cassian and things like that, like you're playing kind of a more control-y game until the late game when lots of damage is teed up and then she can, really start going off. But so that's why most of the time I just value shoves on 2, right? That's it. Also the ability to, I mean, lots of things. Now we're playing in a more of a steadfast meta, or there are lots of things that have steadfast, and the ability just to have 2 shoves is very, very good.
I
So
move one more brief comment. The only
yeah,
reason that aggravated assault is the aggressive thing is because of the expose on 2. As
yep,
soon as you get past that step, relentless arrest is doing equal damage,
yep.
and then it caps out at more damage. So if you need a Hail Mary, that's the side you should actually be on.
Yeah, great point. It is also, and one more thing on that is that aggravated assault does have 7 damage on 4 steps. Like, 7 damage on 4 steps. That's one less. Aiden's getting 8 damage on 4 steps right now. She is not as likely to hit that, absolutely, but just something to know. I mean, she can really go off if you need her to. So, but you're right, resisting arrest can spike for even higher. So just things to be aware of. My sense with Jyn. So as we have been practicing for upcoming tournaments, I was thinking I was probably going to take the Rogue One box just like as is. And I love the movie. It's probably it is actually not probably, it is my most favorite Disney media besides Andor, funnily enough, to come out since like Disney acquired Star Wars. Okay. And so I love the movie, was going to run it. When I first played Jyn, I was like, I'm not sure. Like, I played her once and I was like, oh, she feels squishy. She feels like she takes a lot of setup. But then, like, as I've played more, and I've played with her a few more times, it has become much more the case that she is like a setup piece, right? Where she is her first activation, she's not going to be doing a ton unless you're committing a lot of out of activation resources to her. But then after that, she's going to have some really dynamic activations unless she gets wounded, or if they're able to condition stack her. Because if she gets wounded, that makes it so you're spending a force in order to do her dash arounds. She can still double tap, which is great. And I literally never use her ability, the one to give extra melee dice. Like, you can if you need to, and maybe her force economy makes it a little bit more tantalizing. But like, I literally never do that. But as I've played her more, it's like I put less weight on her in terms of she doesn't need to carry the game. She doesn't need to kill everybody and like ace and do all of those things. And then I've been much more impressed with her. I still think she's a little squishy. She can be in this Republic meta that we're playing in, that we play in, primarily we meaning like the Sci-Fi brothers and everything. There's a lot of Republic, so lots of pins, and that makes her dashing not quite as awesome. But I think she's very, very good. But I do think that she is probably the least impressive figure in this box. Okay, so Bodhi Rook this dude is crazy. So he has 3 squad points. He has 8 health, which is already phenomenal. His 3 abilities are all very, very good. Like, very good for a 3 cost, but 2 of these abilities. So he's got Rogue One pulling away, which is just force cost. Choose a Rebel Alliance unit within 4. They can dash. If it was a spy, this Bodhi can dash. Bodhi can double dash with this is already an extremely good ability. It costs you a force, but that is so good. I just need an open line. If one or more characters in this unit are contesting an active objective that you control and there are no enemies there, your opponent can either spend a momentum or you roll a dice and gain 1 momentum for every expertise result in the roll. Sam, I think we talked about this. Is there like did we decide on like an optimal time? Like, should you be spending momentum in order to prevent your opponent from doing this?
Yes
Okay.
and no. So like,
Okay.
yes, you should, but no, you shouldn't. It's very context dependent.
Okay.
I don't recall the exact math behind it, but it's yes, you should be doing it sometimes, And sometimes you shouldn't, is the answer. It's going to be contextual. It's going to depend upon how much you need the momentum and how much your opponent needs the momentum.
Yeah.
So,
but like first activate, because this is going to happen on Bodhi's first activation. He is going to likely be able to gain access to a point, right? That he is contesting. I guess not if he's at the end of the poll, but most of the time, like I have found that Bodhi is able to do it at least on his first activation. On that, let's say you draw him first, Bodhi goes up to the point. Should you spend the force?
I need to double check the math. I know the math was done. I don't recall it off the top of my head.
Okay, because my sense is that most of the time you shouldn't early on, and you're just hoping, obviously, because losing a momentum, because I think they expect to gain one momentum, losing a moment, it's like you're effectively making the trade, but you are losing momentum is tough. Obviously, the issue though is that they could get 2, right, or heaven forbid they get 3, and then you feel super bad. But most of the time, I think the odds are that they are going to get around 1, right, and so you are, the question is like, what side of the risk do you want to buy? And I think early on in the game, you probably don't want to spend the momentum, but like later, obviously, if it's going to lose you the game, then yeah, you might just have to spend it. That's what's so interesting about this figure, because it is an active ability, but it doesn't cost force. So until he gets wounded, like he gets to do this, and that is just it's a very strong ability in the sense of it forces your opponent to answer a very difficult question. And it's one of those things where it's like, you say, I'm going to use it, your opponent's like, I'm not spending, then you roll 2 expertise, and it's like, Bodhi just got you 2 momentum for nothing, right? And your opponent is going to instantly feel a little bit tilted, right? Because it's obviously above variance. Somehow, that's not even his best ability.
I want to say one more thing, one last thing on this ability before we move on. This ability to me also says, I want to take sabotage or odds. You can guarantee deploy him on an objective that will be active, so that you can use. I just need to use some.
Yeah, absolutely. I think sabotage especially, but
yeah. But yes, that's not his best ability, as you said. It's an innate ability here. Essentially what it does, it says, hey, if you're a rebel and you're contesting a point and you're within 3 of him, you get steadfast and immunity pin. Well, you get steadfast if you're a rebel, and if you're a spy, you get immunity pin. It's kind of like Bo's ability, but it's for a wider tag, than Mandalorians. Like Rebel has a lot more possibilities going on.
Yeah.
I think this ability is great.
It is so good, because the thing is, you're right, it's like Bo's ability, but I would rather have that's not true. I guess it depends on the units that you're running. Like Mandalorians would love to have immunity to expose, right? Because their expertise is so good. But like with this ability, what it makes it so is that your opponent is going to have to commit either diceless onto a 3 cost support, which feels awful, or they're going to have to like put some serious attacks to wound him, because if he's right on the point, it's going to take 3 shoves to get him off. Very few units can do that. So now we've got to make multiple attacks into him, right? So you've got to have multiple figures making multiple attacks into him, who are each going to have to be able to get 2 steps. If he is hunkered, then that makes it so that these melee figures making attacks it's just really, really tough. And so it's just very, like, I have found that Bodhi, his kit is really awesome, but this ability itself just makes it so that also it's amazing, because it's not even like, even once he gets wounded, then you're bringing other bodies onto the point. Like K2SO having steadfast and immunity to pin is disgusting. Like your opponent just, unless they have diceless, they just can't really deal with that. so I have found that this ability is very, very strong. I just need an open line. Very good.
Especially you combo that, which I said, this box plays really well with Callus. And if you have somebody with steadfast who has rerolls, it's really a pain to get them off a point.
Yes, absolutely. And so here's the thing about this, is that his stance card is for a 3 cost is totally fine. 1 to 2 for 2
for 3.
Yeah. For his dice are 6 and 5 on range and melee. His defense is 5 and 4. He's like effectively a clone, is what he is. 6 and 5
with 1 less melee defense dice.
And 1 more health, right?
Yep.
Like that's the big thing. He's got 1 more health, and he has steadfast, and he has immunity to expose. So I mean, he's got a shove on 1. Like, I don't know what else you want from him. He can't double shove. He cannot double shove. But like, his tree's fine. Like, it's totally fine. And for a 3 cost, like, he's really good. Like, Bodhi is just such a strong value piece. I think he's going to be played a lot. He can be played with Jedi Luke. I mean, I think he can just kind of go anywhere because Rebels have got such good. They've got Han and Chewie in it for the money. They've got Baze and Chirrut. They've got these 7 cost figures that can now run with that can run with Rangers, right? Bodhi just does. He enables a lot, and he doesn't really force you to pay a cost for him being 3 cost. So
he is something that Rebels have been waiting for. They needed a 3 cost secondary, and he just fits into so many great Rebel lists. He's going to see a ton of play.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, but let's get to the true the stars of the box. So, well, let's do an overview of Baze and Chirrut, and then we can talk about it. So Baze and Chirrut are 5 cost, 9 health, and their defense is pretty good. Okay, that's already like we're in great territory. Han and Chewie in it for the money have 10 health, but their defense sucks. These guys are very, very good. And if they have been wounded, it gives you an extra force refresh. So you're thinking, well, that means I can always afford to use their active ability, which is their dashing or repositioning. That's true. They're always going to have force to do what they need to do. However, it also means they can effectively just be a battery that never spends force, right? And with Jyn and with Callus, like Sam mentioned, they can just really enable your list while asking for effectively nothing. So their tactic gives you force refresh. We've been in worse cages than this one, cost of force, and it requires you have to look and see what stance they're on. If they are on the Chirrut side, the I am one with the force, each character gets a dash. If the active side is Baze's side, the force is with me, one character could reposition. So it's very flexible. Then this Guardian of the Wills ability is so insanely good. So while it's on Chirrut's side, characters in this unit have cover 1 and sharpshooter 1. Okay. While it's on Baze's side, the force is with me. They have steadfast and impact. That is so good. The ability
They're
to
both
either
incredible.
They're both phenomenal. And the crazy thing is after you flip their card, they immediately make a focus action. So, okay, I'm just going to do a quick aside. I think he's praying for the door to open is an ability that is never going to trigger.
Yeah, we won't talk about it. I've never used it. It's super niche. It's flavor text.
I actually think that if you use it, something has gone wrong because they should not both be contesting a point where there is a tie, right? Now, Luke Thompson has said, well, there is this like niche scenario where it can win you the game, right? Because it can give you an extra momentum. But I'm like, I don't see it, and I don't think you should ever plan for it. Just like Sam says, just think about it as flavor text. Okay, let's look at these stance cards. So we've got Baze's side, the force is with me. Now, I know Baze has a big old machine gun, but this side is actually the melee side. Now, here's what's crazy about it. So both of these sides, they are very similar to each other in that one of them has got, their expertise mirrors each other on range and melee. Offensively mirrors each other. They're both 6 dice for offense and for ranged and melee, 5 dice for defense on both. The Baze side, though, the defensive expertise 1 to 2 gives you a block and a dash, which is also that's the side that has steadfast. So now they cannot be taken off of a point, right? You got to wound them. The other side, Chirrut's side, has crit mitigation. It's 1 to 2 for a block and a crit to a hit. I cannot tell you how good this is because if you're defending against ranged attacks, you've instantly got 6 dice because they have cover 1. So you've got 6 dice. Crit mitigation makes it so many things trying to attack into you are just going to have a really hard time. On the Chirrut side, they've got a shove on step 1. On the Baze side, a shove on step 2. The only thing I would say is that I have found that unless they're being shattered, it's kind of hard for them to get to a second shove. But that's literally the only not amazing thing that's going on here. These stances are so good. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, so these stances are deceptive. I thought they were good when I saw them, and then I played with them, and they're better than you think.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
Let me break down some interesting things that can happen here. So if you're on I'm one with the force, that's your range side, you're going to be making 8 dice range attacks. Yep. If you get 3 expertise, you get 2 crits and a pin. And
Good
you
point.
can get a pin on step 3, which
Good
is
point.
a surprising amount of like the way this damage can stack up. Like that pin can be convert to a damage, which technically can get around Kanan wound triggers, because
Great point.
if they're already pinned, you can knock them down with that. So that's like some niche value, but also that can just be some extra damage some of the time here.
Yep.
Right. So
Absolutely.
and also on both steps, on both trees, they have expose on 3, which means you can just set up whoever is attacking second to get even further down their tree.
And they're making range 5 attacks, right? Like it's not range 4 stuff. Like their threat range is huge.
Yeah. And in melee, they push out damage a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Because they get the on their melee side, they get the 2 damage shove into the pin. However, on the melee side, you get a strain, which is not repeatable.
Yeah.
On their expertise anywhere on their tree. You can also just condition stack with these people. Like you can do something like disarm, expose on ranged, and then you get your expertise and you get a pin, and you can just really condition stack people up. You can dish out damage, you can get shoves, and they roll so many dice, and they work so well with Cassian. It's insane.
Oh, so good. Yeah.
When they're making 10 dice attacks.
Oh my gosh, yes.
they melt stuff, they shove stuff, they condition stuff, and then even better, they get 2 rerolls from Callus. I know we've talked about Callus a lot here, but Callus really, I think, makes these guys really sing. Like, 2 rerolls on these guys really helps you hit the breakpoints you want, makes it really, really hard to shove them off, bumps up their defenses. They're really efficient with him. They're really good with Jyn with the 5 dice attacks. They're really good with Cassian with the focus. They are incredible in every way. They're just have a lot of really interesting applicability in lots of different situations for weapons.
Yeah. So here's the thing. So I think that it's tough because there's so much good stuff that's going on here. But like when they first activate, you can ask yourself, do I want to stay on Baze's side and have my defense be 5 dice with steadfast with a freaking dash on 1 to 2, right? And that's the side where they also have they have impact and steadfast. They don't have protection because that would be disgusting. But they've got steadfast with a dash. So now it's like if you're going to attack me, you're going to have a quadrillion shoves. You're going to have to pin me, or else you're just never going to get them off of a point. So if they're high health, that is just so amazing. But also if you're like, I'm going to be taking a ton of range attacks, you stay on IM1 with the Force. They have cover and crit mitigation. And now all of a sudden it's just like very difficult for your opponent. If you can get them in a position where it's like, I'm not worried about that I'm getting shoved, I can backstop them or whatever. Then all of a sudden you go to IM1 with the Force. And now your opponent has a very hard time dealing damage to them. And it's just like, and that's just innate. This is without thinking about things like Callus rerolls or Jyn doing healing, right? There's just so much that they can present such a problem for your opponent. Here's my take. And I don't think I'm going to channel Diz for a second. I don't think this is a particularly hot take, but maybe. I think that Baze and Chirrut are the best support in the game. Okay, they are 5 cost. They are worse offensively than Han and Chewie. Like absolutely. Han and Chewie can also have very explosive plays. They're phenomenal. But almost in every other way, I think that Baze and Chirrut maybe are not better, but like they're better defensively. They're just as flexible. They also give you easy access to force refresh. I think they're better than Rangers in that they are more durable, just as able to reach out and touch someone across the board, right? Like they are, able to do that. And I have found that they hit more consistently. They've got crits, right? And so that's my thing. What do you think, Sam? Am I crazy?
No, so this is something I'm definitely considering. So they're definitely better than Han and Chewie. I think,
which is crazy that we're saying that. Like it is crazy that Han and Chewie are so good. Well,
I honestly don't think it's close for them. Like it. So like, here's the thing. Like I don't think it's close for them because I think their synergies are so much better, and they do basically the same thing with better defensive stats and better force economy and I wonder about Rebel Commandos because
Yeah.
I think it's a value for points thing.
Yep.
So I think that like what Rebel Commandos do for 4, like Baze and Chirrut are a strictly better unit, but you're also paying 5 for them, right?
Absolutely.
So like
Absolutely.
and so that's where like I think about this, and like Rebel Commandos have their first turn. If you're first player and you draw one first, you'd rather draw Rebel Commandos first.
True. That's true. Because
And
they have infiltrate, right? And
yep.
so they
And
might have the
Infiltrate's
same
incredible.
mobility. Infiltrate's
Yep.
so good.
So I'm not sure that I'm willing to elevate them above Rebel Commandos at this point, but I'm willing to entertain it and don't think that take is crazy.
Yeah, so here's the reason why. So I think that my sense of why these guys are so good is that so Rangers are super good, right? Like they have been before Baze and Chirrut came in. I think no one would disagree. They are probably one of, if not the best support in the game. And the reason why, when ISFs and Dark Troopers got nerfed, the reason why is because they have infiltrate. They are rolling 8 dice at range 5 with 2 shoves on 3 steps. They have the ability to make some really explosive plays if they high roll, right? Most of the time I find that I am hoping to get 2 to 3 steps with my Rebel Commandos, right? And I just don't find that consistently. I mean, their expertise is good, but it's not like, obviously it's not as good as Han Chewie's. But Han Chewie's is like some of the best offensive expertise in the game. Like I find that Rangers are super good and they can make those very dynamic plays, right? They absolutely can. The issue though is that they are so incredibly fragile that the board position that you are establishing with them is very easy to take apart, right? I mean, it's amazing if you can dive into your opponent's back line, take a point. Like that kind of tempo pressure is exactly what Rebel Rangers are there to do. But like if you're trying to rely on that, like they will not hold a position. They will die. Their defense sucks. Like they're just gonna die, right? And that's fine. That's totally fine. Whereas Baze and Chirrut, they get on a point, and all of a sudden it's like they have both made these explosive plays, you know, in terms of hitting people across the board. But now it's like you're going to have a very difficult time dealing with these guys, right? Like it's so easy to get. Rangers are on a point, go attack them, you'll get them off super easy. These guys, it's like, sorry, I'm on base side. Like you're just not going to be able to get me off this point, right? Or, oh, you're trying to make range attacks into me. I'm rolling 6 dice with crit to hits, right? So I also think that what they enable in terms of like what they enable with Cassian just is so like if I had to choose, I can only either take Baze and Chirrut or Rebel Rangers in like a Cassian list. I would take Baze and Chirrut. That's my hot take. That's how good I think they are. Like if I'm only taking one, I'm taking them, leaving Infiltrate behind, which is I know a big deal. So anyway, that's my thought. What do you think?
That last point convinces me because I think I would do the same in a Cassian list.
Yeah.
So I do think they're better than Rangers. My last thing that I'm thinking about that it's a maybe not is I also think 7. I guess they aren't out yet, but I think 7 Scorch are also incredible.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
7 Scorch. Oh
yeah,
no Delta.
And that's more, you know, perhaps a discussion for 3 weeks from now when they release. But that's something on the radar that I think you've convinced me pretty well that you know, in a Cassian list, I would rather have Baze and Chirrut. No, perhaps that's just for a Cassian list. That like, in a Cassian list, I would rather have Baze and Chirrut. In a generic Rebels list, maybe Commandos are more. I think Commandos are more important in say like a Bogray list. In you know, in other Rebel archetypes. So I think it's gonna be archetype specific. But I think it's hard to say that they're at least not like equals. So
the issue is, I mean, they're 5 costs, right? And so the reason why we think about him with Cassian is because he's 9 costs, right? And that makes it so now. But also, you can obviously run him you can run these guys with Bodhi, and then you're running them with 8, and that's totally fine. I just think that like I love Rebel Rangers. Like no one needs to be convinced about how good those guys are. But I'm telling you that like Baze and Chirrut are going to present like they present different kinds of problems for your opponent, right? Like Rangers, it's like I drew them first, fantastic. I'm going to take your backline point. I'm going to, you know, blow somebody up, right, who hasn't got a hunker token yet. Like they can do some really amazing plays. And also, to be totally honest, like I love Rangers even later in the late game because they're still able to make those high impact offensive plays. But what Baze and Chirrut are doing is they're saying we don't have quite as of an offensive explosion because we don't have infiltrate, but they can still hit just as hard. And I think probably we should do the math on this at some point. But I think probably a little bit they're expecting more damage. And obviously
they're expecting more consistency. They max
more
out at less damage.
Yes, that's true. Rangers max out at 7. These guys max out at 6 on both stances. But they're just so flexible in terms of like the problem we always have with Rangers is we go with Rangers, they take a point, that's awesome, they get wounded. Okay, It's like, okay, they're wounded. I'm going to shatter point them because they are my best shatter point target. Awesome, they're wounded again. So now we're taking one more activation with them. Baze and Chirrut are not that way, right? Like it is not the case that if you'll shatter them gladly. And when you shatter them, you're not worried about them being removed. And also when your opponent sinks attacks into them, it's like, one, it's like a higher cost than attacking Rangers. 2, once they get wounded, now you're just refreshing more force, right? So that's kind of my sense.
They're a better shatter point target. I've been well convinced. Like they didn't take much because I think these guys are incredible and they are just amazing. Kind of just coming to fit, right? Like where do they fit within the game as a whole, right? And so I think that this box, one of the best things about this box is it doesn't need to be played as a box. There are some boxes that come out that it's just like it's kind of locked in to like you play it as this. Each of these pieces can be played independently of the other two and perform well. Right? So you can really fit in a lot of different places. Obviously, there are pairings with Cassian that work really well. I think there's pairings with Kanan that work really well. I think there's interesting pairings with Luke that work really well because if you have a steadfast Baze and Chirrut who are also immune to pin, they're literally never going to leave that point. With that expertise, right? So there's interesting, like I think that they're just incredibly flexible.
I think my sense, I totally agree, right? Like in terms of the fit, they go kind of anywhere. They enable lots of lists. I mean, I think that there are no rebel lists that could not be affected by one of these 3 units, right? Obviously Cassian, but like Kanan, Freedom Fire Leia, you can absolutely run Jyn and Princess Leia. Like that is a absolutely solid pairing. I mean, you can run Rescue Box plus this Rogue One box, and you are running Han and Chewie and Baze and Chirrut. And you've still got Rangers to go in another list if you're wanting to do some kind of like more flexible premier list building. Like that's scary. If your opponent is like, I've got Baze and Chirrut on this side and Han and Chewie on this side, it's like, oh man, I'm going to have, these guys are going to slap pretty hard and they're going to be impossible to deal with defensively. These other guys are going to slap really hard. And I've got this revenge trigger and I've got like this force economy ability. Like they're just very, very good. I don't like in terms of fixing. I think the only thing I'd say is that I think Jedi Luke really loves Bodhi Rook, and it's tough. It's tough to think of like, it's tough to think of a figure that is more fixed, quote unquote, than Jedi Luke. The ability to have a 3-cost support who is not named Luke Skywalker is so crucial to Luke, so that he doesn't have to run with Bartu, because Bartu, I think in a prior meta with like Vader, having access to Vader dice were a lot better. Like you feel now that they are 3-cost supports. And so you don't really want to run with them if you can. You'd much rather run Rangers with Luke, and Bodhi makes that possible while also giving Steadfast. And it's just, like it makes him very, very difficult to deal with. For lists, I mean, the world is kind of your oyster. We have been running a list that I have been running that I think is very, very strong, that Sam came up with, is this Kanan Cassian list, where you're running Kanan, Callus, Rangers, Cassian, Kanan, Ezra Rangers, Kanan, Ezra Rangers, Cassian, Callus, Baze and Chirrut. And like it's just all good stuff, right? But like very, very good stuff. That's a very strong list. You could literally though just run the Rogue One boxes, run Cassian together, run Jyn together. I've done that. It's very, very good. Like you're just running a lot of good things. Oh, don't run Pathfinders though. Just run Rangers. Pathfinders are bad. But like that's like there's so many lists that they can go in, right? Like we could just keep going. But like I think the thing is whatever you want to run them with, odds are very good that they will work if it's a rebel list. I am sure that there are some fun non-rebel janky lists that have kind of been getting kicked around, but like that's just not where we've been
So
sitting. So
as far to that point, I don't think those are very good because they don't take advantage of Jyn's identity.
okay.
Because only rebels can
Oh,
spend the
great point.
momentum for the Force.
Great point.
Bodhi is not. He only gives steadfast to rebels. He can give
Great point.
spies immunity pin. So
Yeah.
the thing that you can take with non-rebels is Baze and Chirrut, which granted we think is the best part of the box,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like they fit so naturally and elegantly with rebels that why would you take them without rebels?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a
And so
good point. Good
yeah,
point. So
there's
run with rebels.
there's another interesting list that I think with the Kanan, well, I mean with the Cassian Callus core, because I think that's a really interesting thing with Jyn. You can go with that Cassian Callus Baze part, but you can stick it next to Jyn with Jyn, K2, Bar2. You're still getting lots of rerolls because Bar2's getting double rerolls from Callus that you can just, spend a momentum for or whatever. You're getting the K2 stuff going on. I think that's a really interesting list. I think that there's some pairing Jyn with, as you said, Freedom Fighter Leia is another really interesting list because, hey, if Freedom Fighter Leia gets wounded, momentum for Coordinated Fire Expose.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Which is great, right? And then all of a sudden your offense just spikes up. And if you're getting exposes on Baze and Chirrut or on Bodhi, that really helps with them out. And then Jyn can really become a murder machine, right? If she's making an expose attack, then re-exposing them and then attacking again, then you can really amp up the aggro. So interesting things going on there. Yeah.
One thing I'll say about Jyn is that I think that Jyn really wants to be paired with Baze and Chirrut or Rangers, and the reason why is because, I mean, obviously everyone does because they're super good, but there's a specific reason why, which is that her tactic is give a dash or a 5 dice attack to herself or a rebel supporting unit.
Yep.
That is so good when you have got your 2 supporting units are Baze and Chirrut or rebel commandos, right? Like, if now your threat range is not just Jyn, right? That's, I think, one of probably the best things about that ability is that it can make it so that Baze and Chirrut, who can be all the way across the board from Jyn, can either make a very solid attack with great expertise, or they can make or they can dash, right? Like if you need them to get on points, and same with rebel commandos. So I think that Jyn, everyone kind of wants to be with these guys, but Jyn particularly does, especially because with their ability in terms of giving you force refresh, it really takes a lot of the like you can just kind of spend your force knowing that you're going to get more from them and that Jyn kind of has your back if you absolutely need it. It just makes it's just very strong, very, very, very strong.
The last fix that I want to mention, and then I'll jump into the splash ripple thud here, is I think that Bodhi makes Zeb more viable because
interesting.
So I don't think that Zeb is still like a top meta piece, right? I don't think that changes that. But I think if you want to play Zeb, that Bodhi does interesting things with him because steadfast Zeb, especially with Luke. So if you go Luke, Bodhi, Zeb next to a Kanan list, Kanan Ezra Commandos, right? Mm-hmm. All of a sudden you have a Zeb who's immune to pins, who is steadfast.
Great point.
And that just becomes a nightmare to deal with, right? Like, what do you do? Like, you have to spend your dice list into Zeb.
Like, great point.
So I think that I'm not sure that that's like a top tier competitive list, but if you want to get Zeb on the table and really make him shine, I think Bodhi does that.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a great point. Like, this is how you know that the box is good. Is that they make everything better, right? Yeah. Like, it's like the thing with Cam or Shock T. Like, Cam can be paired with lots of primaries, and the reason why is because he makes everybody better if they're Jedi. But even if they're not Jedi, right? Like, you don't need to be a Jedi in order to get good with Cam. He just makes everything better. That's how you know that something is good. And I think that Bodhi and Chirrut, Baze and Chirrut especially are kind of in that world where they are going to make whatever list they are in better. And that just tells you how good they are. So
this is the definition of a splash.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like, especially like Baze and Chirrut are going to be like a cannonball, off the high dive. Bodhi is going to do a lot. And Jyn is really solid too. She's going to be the
Yeah.
smallest of them all. Like, I think
Yeah.
Jyn might just be like a Ripple, like
Yeah.
doing really good things, but not like everywhere. But the others, man, they're great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it is absolutely going to be the case. Like, this box is going to be a splash, and if you're a Rebel player, you should be buying this box. Absolutely. If you are interested in having, like, if you are like wanting something besides Han and Chewie in a spot, you should try Baze and Chirrut there. Like, there is no reason they can't be subbed into most of those lists. They're just they're very good, right? Like, and yeah, they're absolutely going to be a splash. So, for final thoughts, I mean, I've already given the take that I think Baze and Chirrut are possibly the best support in the game. Not possibly. I think they are the best support in the game, and I am going to be proving that theory, either true or false, over the coming month. But I also think like they just add so much, and this box is just such an interesting box to be able to play with in terms of the current meta issues. Like, Obi Mace is very, very strong, and it's really interesting to think about this box's matchup with that. Obviously, Kamakin, the Gen Con tournament that is happening this weekend had the top 4 players. 3 of them were Empire, like all Empire lists. And that's very interesting in terms of thinking about meta matchups, right? But like, I just feel like Jin's box makes Rebels. It's not that like it doesn't offer any dice lists, right? There's no dice lists in this box, but what it gives you is just super solid value and these very dynamic plays, kind of at every level. Obviously, mostly the dynamic plays are coming from Jyn and Baze and Chirrut, but Bodhi is just presenting a thorn in your opponent's side. There's just a lot to deal with, and I just think it's going to be very solid. So, what do you think, Sam?
My final thoughts here are just go out and play the list. Like, go out and wait, you'll put it on the table, and it'll feel like you've made your 8 men feel like 100, right? So if your 10, like, you just have your 8, they're going to be everywhere. They're going to be doing everything. They're going to be high impact. You're going to love it. Go out there, play some Shatterpoint with this box. It'll be an incredible time.
Yeah, exactly. Also, especially because if Delta Squad's as good as we all think it's going to be, what you really want to have against Delta Squad is durable units who give you something when they get wounded. So we've been in this meta before. So those guys will just be very good. Like, it'd be interesting. I don't think like playing into the old Iden meta, obviously, like no one's as good, right? But like, it would have been really interesting to have these guys in that kind of a meta. So, and if the Delta, I'm not saying the Delta box is going to be nearly as good as that. I am, however, I think everyone kind of sees that Delta box is here for murder, and it's very good to have like a unit or a play style that can respond to that. So that's the only thing I'm saying with that. But okay, that's it. That was episode 99. The next episode is going to be episode 100, which is just absolutely insane. I hope that is our secondary tier list, but who knows what it's going to be. Scott and I are going to be going to Seattle for the Dragonflight, the Evergreen Open. Sam, you're going to Nova, right, Sam?
Going to Nova, yep. Diz and Janway and I are doing the team event. It's going to be a ton of fun.
It's going to be so much fun. So we will be having more, obviously, competitive events that we'll be talking about and kind of like talking through our prep for in the coming weeks. But in the interim, absolutely, August 8th, as I think when the box releases in the United States, you should go pick it up if you are a Rebel player or just interested in having some very, very strong units. And with that, I hope everyone has a good week. See ya.